Hi there, welcome on into VGMporium, video game music and more. I'm your host Rage Cage, and this week we're going to be talking about something that's maybe not as silly as last week's topic, you know, Pokemon on Sega, or maybe I should say at a totally different plane of silliness. And it is probably not a word you would expect to be linked to a game called Killer 7, but you would be surprised. And yes, Killer 7 is the topic of this week's episode. So now I'm going to say right off the bat, I had originally planned this for episode 70, but, you know, between time constraints like, you know, work, personal stuff, I wasn't able to actually get to recording it. And now, like, I was originally wanting to do something, like, pretty big, you know, like having all, like, the different sound effects and all this stuff. But, again, time constraints with the added bonus of having Tears of the Kingdom come out and eating up a lot of my time. And, of course, Masters of VGM happening this month as well. But it kind of works out, you know, having Killer 7 on episode 77. Hey, that's even better. But it's going to be pretty slapdash and not as, well put together as I would like it to be. But there's still going to be a lot of really good music and, you know, some absurdity going on. So now, Killer 7. This was a game that was originally released in 2005 on the GameCube as part of the Capcom 5, June 9th to be exact, so it just celebrated its 18th anniversary last week. And it was eventually ported to the PS2, which is the console that I played it on. And boy howdy, let me tell you, when I played this back in 2007, 2008, my brain was just probably at the right point in development to where I just ate this up. Like it's I would have to say it's probably one of my favorite games. Even though this game does have a lot of things kind of going against it, like the story that doesn't make any sense really unless you've played it multiple times. The gameplay, even though kind of repetitive, is has some cool stuff to it. It's mostly the visuals and the sound and like actually the localization, the voice acting that kind of actually makes this like such a great game. And I'm glad it's not just me, because I have read and listened to some things by some folks that also like the game for the same reasons. Don't get me wrong, the story is it's not bad. It's absurd. It's like really confusing, but like I said, you play this game multiple times and you just catch new things each time, and it kind of helps move the pieces closer together. There are some set beats that are pretty clear and are kind of foreshadowed throughout the game, but like it's kind of the stuff in between those bullet points that's kind of like, you just got to put it together yourself, and it's kind of different for everybody. But we'll get more into the story later. For now, let me tell you all about them sounds that you done heard at the beginning of this episode. So what that was basically the title screen, so like the title just kind of coming in all really cool stylized like, and then option selecting, and then this mad laughter you hear when you either select new game or continue, and when you select continue, you hear this kind of laser scope sound, and you're aiming at something that's kind of related to the chapter that you're on at at the time. You shoot it, the sound, and then basically a picture of the moon just kind of sitting there droning, and then that fades out, and then we come into multiple personality, which is the music that plays in Harman's room, which is where you can save, do a few other things, and then I totally forgot the music. Most of the music, excepting a few tracks, is composed by Masafumi Takada, who was one of my honorable mentions of my last year's Masters of VGM, and I will tell you more about him later as well. But this music here is actually what you'll be hearing most throughout the game, because it is like I said, the Harman's room, which is like the save room, or where you could go switch characters out or create serum from what is called thick blood, which is something you collect from killing Heaven Smile, which are the enemies in this game. God, I am all over the place with this. I have not even told you about the Heaven Smile, but again, I will tell you more later, because in this room, again, you get access to a TV where you can actually see all the personas and update or increase their stats. And who are the personas? Well, they are the Smith Syndicate. They are run by Harman Smith, and let's just introduce you to them here. Let's turn this TV on, and all right. So first up, we got Garcian Smith.
Don't make me say it again. I'm a cleaner.
On the next channel, we got Dan Smith.
You want to die, huh?
And then we have Kaede Smith.
I've changed my makeup. Did you notice? Men. They never notice these kinds of things.
And then Kevin Smith. You wouldn't know he was there until he stuck you with a knife. Followed by Coyote Smith.
What did you say?
Such a delightful scoundrel. And then we have Con Smith.
Later.
Peace.
And last but not least, Mask D. Smith.
Judge, I'll take care of them.
And then, only at the beginning of each chapter, you have the option to choose Harman Smith.
Ah, Garcian. How long has it been?
And it's only at the beginning of the chapters, and it's only to present the objective of the mission of that chapter to Garcian. Now another admission here. I had planned on playing through the entire game to refresh my memory on it, as well as to know where the music plays in the game, but that never happened, and also to record all the different clips that all the characters say on the TV, because it's not static. Sometimes they'll have a little quip here, but then sometimes the mission will be specific to them, and they'll have this whole 5 to 10 second thing they'll say. But now, this is a video game music podcast, so I gotta play you some more music before you get bored of all my talking here. So, what we're gonna listen to now is Emoticon from Killer 7, composed by Masafumi Takada. That was Emoticon from Killer 7, composed by Masafumi Takada. And it's kind of like the majority of the music that you'll hear in this game is kind of like this cool kind of semi-ambient mixture of like weird kind of electronic leads with pianos kind of twinkling in the background. And this music plays in kind of like an area of this first quote-unquote stage. Each level doesn't have like set music because you go through like corridors, you'll go through doors, and each area will have like its own music or even just like weird background noise kind of going on. And yeah, there's a lot of ambient noise type stuff going on, like not even really music. It might have maybe a little bit of a rhythm or some musical elements, but yeah, it's kind of like a weird mix of actual music and just ambience. But hey, don't let this song and multiple personalities trick you into thinking that the OST is just going to be all stuff like this. Like I said, it's all over the place. But a good majority of it, no matter the style, has this kind of like feeling of dis-ease within it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just something that Masafumi Takada is just able to do with his music. So you may be wondering, the laughter that you're hearing at the beginning of the show, and then what you just heard now. Well, that laughter is all the laughter of the antagonist of the game, Cloudman. And he is the head of the organization called Heaven's Smile, but it's less of an organization and more of like a cult or something. I don't know what to explain it as, but the Heaven's Smile are people that have been like transformed, like twisted with like these rictus open maws, like grinning and everything. And they'll come at you, and when they grab you, they'll explode. And all the sounds they can make is just laughter, variations of laughter that is all Cloudman's laughter. And we're talking Mark Hamill Joker level of laughter here. I mean, like, whoever did the laughing for Cloudman, props to them. It's crazy. But yes, Cloudman, like I said, is the antagonist, but also he is he and Harman are kind of like friends. It's kind of like a Magneto Professor Xavier situation. They have friendly chess games. They'll have like this full-on discussions with each other, totally civil. It's just that, they're really good friends. It's just, they're just both on different sides of the line. So like, the Harman Smith and the Smith Syndicate has been hired to take out the Heaven's Smile. And the Heaven's Smile are the enemy that you find like throughout the entire game, and they come in all kinds of shapes, sizes, colors, laughter. It's pretty unsettling to hear that, the chuckle happen and then like the slapping of their feet on the ground. And like, if you're first time playing and you're trying to figure out all the controls, it's even more so. And then before you know it, bam, they're like laughing like crazy. They're grabbing you and they're blowing up, and you have it's just big flash of light, and you just kind of try to figure out what the fuck happened. So how the gameplay works is that basically like when you're like moving around, you're on rails. So you're just going down corridors. It'll kind of curve, do whatever, and then like you hit some splits and you just choose whichever direction you go into, find some like, people to talk to, and you'll just choose to talk to them. And then when you hear that chuckle, you got to go into like, aim mode, but then you got to scan to see them. And then like, the aiming is like a stationary third person view, and you just shoot at them. And like you kind of shoot to kill them, or you can hit them in critical spots, which then gets you blood, which then you take to the TV back in Harman's room to then turn into serum. Another use for this thick blood is to heal yourself, or to give it to certain characters you find throughout the stages. And then how progression works throughout the stages is that, you're going through, shooting up Heaven's Smile, and then you got to find things called soul bullets. And you find these by mostly solving puzzles, but also sometimes taking on some particularly nasty Heaven's Smile. And so once you collect all these bullets, you'll eventually find your way to the Vinculum Gate. And actually, let's make our way over there right now. Kind of feels like you're waiting to go onto the club, huh? Well, the one way to get through into this particular club is to give the gatekeeper all the soul bullets that you find. And so, you make your way to the ticket booth, and you're greeted with... You are then allowed to proceed towards the door. That will take you to the corridor. That will take you to the Vinculum Gate. But I must warn you before you open this door that the song that's going to be playing here is probably going to get many of you folks up out of whatever seat you're in or whatever you're standing and moving about, probably dancing your ass off. But before we proceed into madness, what we've been hearing underneath all this is Rave On, game version. And what we're going to be hearing behind this door is Rave On by Masafumi Takada. And now, it's time to open that door. was Rave On by Masafumi Takada. And this here is a fine example of not knowing that there's way more to this song than you actually hear in the game, because the corridor that you go across to get to the Vinculum Gate only takes about maybe 30 seconds, if that. So you only get to hear about maybe 30 seconds, maybe a little more of that, of this song, because, that just makes you think that the song will just loop indefinitely, with just like that snippet you actually hear. But no, there's this whole ass 4.5 minute long song, and it's obviously just a really good song because it's a really cool combination of 4 to the floor techno with some electro bits there, and then of course those leads that come in about halfway through, and then the icing on the cake being those breaks that show up towards the end. So yeah, so setting the scene, as soon as you open the door, you're hit with this crazy beat, and then you go up some stairs, go down a corridor, go down some stairs, open the next door, and then you are presented with this huge warehouse, just giant. And you meet Iwazaru, the loyal servant of the Smith Syndicate. And he is one of what's called Revenant Psyche that will actually help you, give you clues, tell you a bit about story stuff, tell you about the heaven smile they are about to face. And it's always good to listen to his advice. Actually, let's do that right now. I know it's a little hard to understand him, but hey, guy's got a ball gag in his mouth. Yep, he's in a gimp suit. He floats hangs down on bondage rope and stuff. Hey, it's his thing. Don't judge him. And so yeah, so what he just told us was a warning against the heaven smile you're going to be facing on the other side of the Vinculum Gate. At the end, you'll face a new type of heaven smile each time you go through this gate. And yeah, you'll kill this heaven smile, and you'll just keep going through, and you'll face the boss of the chapter. Though sometimes you'll be doing this twice per chapter. And the bosses usually consist of, creations of Kunlan, Heaven Smile type things. Humans that are corrupted by Kunlan, with, some kind of special variant of Heaven Smile. And then sometimes just normal humans that are just really fucked up. And so once you beat the boss, you get some really cool story scenes. And then, chapter ends. And that is the flow of the game. Though the first stage starts with, basically throwing you right in there. How the other chapters start is it opens up with Garcian sitting in a trailer. He gets a phone call. And then he'll get up, go talk to, awaken Harman, get his mission briefing, and go out. It'll show you a world map that kind of travel around and then takes you to your location of where the next story bit is, and then the location of the stage is at. So I'm going to play you our next track here. This is Geopolitics. This is the music that plays during that map I mentioned. And this is, of course, composed by Masafumi Takada.
The election is drawing near. Have you decided on your vote? If you haven't, please let the Republic Party make the most of your precious vote. Thank you and have a nice day.
Precious vote? Yeah, right.
That was Geopolitics by Masafumi Takada. And this plays on the world map, and it's quite literally the world map. It's like shows the US, Japan, all these places that you can go to, and it'll pinpoint the exact location you'll be going to for like the story scene or for when like the stage that you're going to be playing in. You know, it's a cool little tune. I like it. It's some really cool electro, kind of like makes me think of Japanese telecom, but a little on the lighter side. Oh, and I should clarify that you're not selecting where you're going. It's just like, an automatic thing. And you're going to all different kinds of locations, like a Japanese restaurant, the Dominican Republic, a small cult like utopian town in the middle of the desert in Texas, just to name a few. And it is from these few that I will be pulling our tracks from. So up next, we have Elegant Petal by Masafumi Takada. And that was Elegant Petal by Masafumi Takada. And I bet you weren't expecting to hear some traditional style Japanese music. Now did ya? Like I said earlier, this game's soundtrack just goes all over the place. This soundtrack is just really kind of like a showcase of Masafumi Takada's versatility as far as doing musical styles and his different sounds. And seeing it's been a year since I went in depth about him, I'll give you a little bit of the rundown. So we got to start in 1996 composing for the SNES titles Surabaki Nishi and Rama Half Battle Renaissance. 1997 would be the beginning of his relationship with Goichi Suda with the title Moonlight Syndrome. Shortly after this, he would work on Air Border 64, piano arrangements for Mizurna Falls and Remote Control Dandy, and then in 1999 he would work on The Silver Case, which is the first game developed by Grasshopper Manufacturer founded by Guichi Suda, and this would be the beginning of Masafumi Takada being their lead composer. So from here I'm just going to be listing the games that he worked on with Grasshopper Manufacturer. So next would be Flower Sun Rain in 2001, Shining Soul 2 in 2003, Michigan Report from Hell 2004, Killer 7 2005, and in the same year, the 25th Ward Silver Case. In 2006, Samurai Champloo Sidetracked, Contact, and Blood Plus One Night Kiss. And then in 2007 would be No More Heroes. And that would actually be the last major game that he would work on with Grasshopper Manufacturer, because in 2008 he would found his own sound and music production company called Sound Prestige. And it would be from here that he would compose music for many game series such as Danganronpa, Earth Defense Force, as well as doing arrangements for Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Smash Bros., and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And then in 2017, he would co-found a game development company called 2Kyo Games, and the two games they developed so far are Death Come True and World's End Club. And his latest credit being in 2023 is for Master Detective Archives Rain Code, which he also composed alongside Jun Fukuda, who he has collaborated with many a time throughout the years. And so earlier you may have remembered that I mentioned that, Masafumi Takada composed most of the songs for this soundtrack. The other person is Jun Fukuda, and this is the first project they actually worked together on. So actually this would be the appropriate moment to share with you one of Jun Fukuda's tracks. And I do believe the one I have queued up here is Santo Domingo. And this is going to take us to the amazing utopia that is Almeida City in the South Texas desert.
The name's Andre Almeida. I am a man with a plan. The people will come to me for salvation. I have a hunch that something's gonna happen. Now, Mr. Garcia Smith, I'm challenging you. I've created a new faith. I want you to find me. I'm waiting for you. So what do you say? If you don't find me, I won't have meaning. So I'll be waiting for you.
You just heard Santo Domingo by Jun Fukuda. And he only composed about 4 tracks for this game, and they were all for the scenario called Cloudman, which is where you go to this middle of nowhere desert town called Almeida City, which is founded and led by Andre Almeida, who you just heard in that message. And he is a man of severe charisma. And the Smith Syndicate is hired by an unknown party to kill Andre Almeida, though you find out at the end that it was Andre Almeida who put the hit out on himself because he wished for them to kill him before he was infected by the Heaven Smile, which, he does, and he becomes the boss of that scenario. Now, the cool thing about this scenario is that where most story cutscenes take place in, like, the game engine, these are actually done in kind of like this really interesting animation style. I don't really know how to explain it. It's a regular 2D animation, but it's kind of almost really stiff but really stylized. And, this scenario in general is just really weird and wacky because, there's signs all over the place for, like, Almeida's things. One of them being, Almeida standing behind this guy with, like, this mind control helmet on him, and the guy's, like, eyes are just shooting out and stuff. And I had that as my phone background for the longest time. And you'll be encountering Heaven Smile that are just running around the town with Almeida shirts on, just bright yellow shirts, as well as this giant towering Heaven Smile, which is, surprisingly easy to take down. If you probably couldn't tell, this is one of my favorite scenarios in the game because it's just so weird and ridiculous. But I got so excited that I forgot to tell you about Jun Fukuda. And as I mentioned, he's been a longtime collaborator with Masafumi Takada, starting with Michigan Report from Hell. Primarily sound effects, with Killer 7 being his debut as a composer. And he would eventually kind of take on one of the lead composition roles for Grasshopper Manufacturer after No More Heroes, with No More Heroes 2, Shadows of the Damned, Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer is Dead, Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes, and No More Heroes 3. Then outside of Grasshopper, he would collaborate with Masafumi Takada on many of those soundtracks I mentioned earlier, such as Danganronpa, Earth Defense Force. Now here's a silly little thing I just saw. He was a sound designer for Balan Wonderworld, and he did sound effects for Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Burst Forth, Chodogan Breath, and Pocket Car Jockey Ride On. And those were just within 2022 and 2023. So now, one last thing I forgot to mention about Almeida City is that you have to collect little figurines of Andre Almeida doing various things, such as, being a baseball player, astronaut, Andre Almeida. And you got to collect all of these to get past the gate into the, Almeida headquarters proper. Now, you may be wondering, where are all these toys at? Are they strewn throughout the city? No, you just find them in a toy dispenser in a diner. Actually, let's go visit that diner and go get us some Almeida figures, man. I want to get me astronaut Almeida. the luck. Basketball Almeida again. I'll get Astronaut Almeida another day for sure. Well, what you just heard there was Cloudman Edus by Masafumi Takada. And a funny thing about this song is it wasn't actually featured in the official soundtrack release. And there's actually quite a few songs that aren't featured on the official soundtrack that, you'll hear play in the game. There's a few like Cloudman Edus that are more like, background music, so nothing really too much going on there. There are some that are called game version, whereas they're actually the versions of the songs that are on the official soundtrack release that are played in game. So kind of like all the variations on those as well. But fear not, dear listener, for there is a way to listen to this music in what's called Killer 7 The Missing Tracks, and it is an unofficial release that you can find on YouTube. There's also a website that has the zip file full of all the MP3s, but I can't remember what it was. But yes, Missing Tracks features all the music that you can hear in-game, but not in the official soundtrack release. And so with all this talk of the missing tracks, I feel like I should play you another one. And so the next one I got here for you is White Sugar Margharita Mix by Masafumi Takada. So that was White Sugar Margharita Mix by Masafumi Takada. So what makes this a margarita mix? Well, it adds in all like these kind of more acoustic hand drum sounds, as well as all the birds kind of chirping in the background, whereas the original version was just, the song with electronic kind of style drums without the bird chirpings and everything. So I'm going to take this moment here to try to explain to you what this the story of this wacky game is. Well, it is set in a alternate history where all nuclear weapons have been destroyed, but flights have just there's no flights to anywhere. Planes are pretty much just grounded forever. There's no public internet access, and pretty much I think most things are run by the UN. I'm not quite sure, but the main kind of conflict going on here is the tensions between the US and Japan. And the terrorist organization Heaven Smile, run by Cloudman, is just looking to disrupt everything, and that is where the Smith Syndicate, aka the Killer 7, come in. They are hired by the U.S. government to take down the Heaven Smile as well as other groups. And, that's kind of the part of the story that is a little more straightforward. There's still some wobbly bits, but where things get really kind of wonky is kind of the story that revolves around the Smith Syndicate itself. Though the story bits mostly focus around Harman and Garcian, with a little bit of Dan happening. And most of these just come in bits and pieces throughout the scenarios. And there's a bit of a twist at the end that I don't want to spoil for anybody that wants to play this game, which you can on Steam. So now stepping back from that, as I mentioned earlier, this is a alternate history. Well, it's also kind of like an alternate history of the previous games from the Grasshopper manufacturer, starting with Moonlight Syndrome, which was made by Goichi Suda while he was still working for Human, and then The Silver Case and Flower Sun Rain. Whereas those first three games share a continuity, are kind of set in the same world, but like mostly just like, character references and all this stuff. Killer 7 is kind of like its own thing. That is until Travis Strikes Again No More Heroes, where Dan Smith actually shows up in the opening of that game. And, if you haven't played it or know about it, it's basically the 20th anniversary of Grasshopper Manufacture, and there is a lot of, characters from previous games that they've made showing up, connecting them all into, into the same world. So, I guess Killer 7 is technically part of the world of all those other games? I don't know. But one thing I do know is that is this the case? There's a lot of assassination groups within this whole world. And one of those being the Handsome Men, which is a U.S. government-created assassin team, which the Smith Syndicate do battle with. And, the Handsome Men are basically a Sentai group, Power Rangers, whatnot like that, in which they have a pretty kick-ass theme called Heroic Deeds by Masafumi Takada. That was Heroic Deeds by Masafumi Takada. And don't let these handsome men fool you. Their deeds are not all that heroic, because they are an assassin group created by the government. They were given a good face because there are comics and shows based off of them, but yeah, they're not all that good guys. And they're actually pretty tame compared to other foes that the Smith Syndicate take on. You got a couple of old, dead Japanese businessmen that just lob brains at you, the ever-charismatic cult leader Andre Almeida, the hanged corpse of the leader of the U.S. government, and his group of Unstoppable Heaven Smile. And though not the last boss you face, and the least bizarre outwardly, we have quite possibly the greatest monster in this entire game, Curtis Blackburn. And I'll explain to you why in the least graphic way I can after we listen to this next track here, which is called Blackburn by Masafumi Takada. And that super smooth jazzy jam you just heard was Blackburn by Masafumi Takada. Now I did say I would tell you why I consider Blackburn the greatest monster in this game, but I'm not really going to get into it because it's some really uncomfortable stuff. I mean, if you want to know what it is, play the game. Or, if you don't want to do that, just look it up. So instead, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this song here. It's actually one of my favorites in the soundtrack. And it plays during a part of the scenario encounter where you're at Blackburn's residence. And with that, there are a few variations on it, this version and then the quote-unquote in-game version, which is a lot more beat heavy. And what I really like about this track is just those string chords that are just constantly going, that really nice bass in the background, and then the chilled out percussion, all brought together by those vocals and the piano that play throughout. I do really like this variation, though the game version is also really cool, actually. I'll play you a small clip of it right here. Like I said, really beat heavy. It kind of drowns out all the other elements like the piano, the vocals. There is this really cool kind of like twinkling synth sound going on in the background as well. And it's all just really cool music to hear playing while you're infiltrating this residence, which is a lot of security and a lot of heaven smile. So why are you infiltrating Curtis Blackburn's residence? I hear you asking. Well, it's because you're given the job to take this guy out because his operations are in tandem with Heaven Smile, disrupting the government's plans and everything. Whatever that is. And then also, this is a kind of like a vendetta thing for Dan Smith because, Curtis Blackburn was Dan Smith's mentor, and then through just series of events, Curtis ended up killing Dan, which is actually one thing I forgot to mention is that all the Smith Syndicate were killed at one point and are now part of Harman. Yeah. But long story short, Dan is the personality that takes over before you face Curtis Blackburn, so he's the one that takes him out. And speaking of taking things out, I feel it's about time to wind this episode down. I've kind of said this thing's a bit of a hot mess. Not as I had hoped would turn out, but hey, I'm still getting to play some really cool music and talk to you about a game that I really like. And so now I got a couple more tracks here for you. So next one I got is Third Foundation by Masafumi Takada. and that was Third Foundation by Masafumi Takada. And you know, I love me some wonky electronic music. That I cannot deny. And this brings us to the end of the episode. There's probably a lot of things I should have talked about, a lot of things I wanted to talk about. You know, kind of listening back to this, what I've recorded already, it just seems like I'm kind of going all over the place and not making too much sense, but that's kind of appropriate for this, you know, talking about this game. You know, I probably should revisit this another time and give it the attention it really deserves. But for now, this is good enough, and I hope you enjoyed what I did share with you and my weird, strange ramblings. And I would really encourage you to go, play this game. You know, it's on Steam, it's usually on sale, and yeah, it's just a really just unique experience. And if you don't do that, just go check out the soundtrack, at least. So now I'd like to make mention that March 30th of this year was Grasshopper Manufacturer's 25th year anniversary. And just yesterday, June 13th, they released Grasshopper Direct in celebration of this. And in it, they showed many clips of all the games and other projects that they had worked on throughout the 25 years, as well as showcase one thing they are working on, which is a remaster of Shadows of the Damned. But they actually did tease it a week earlier in only way that Grasshopper could. And the Direct was hosted by community managers James Mountain and Maddie Kopp as Bad Girl. And you know, they made it a ridiculously fun time. Just go check it out. Go to Grasshopper Manufacturer Archive on YouTube and it'll be right there. The one last thing I will note is that they showcased a possibly in development game that Goichi Suda was playing in the room behind where James and Maddie were hosting the Direct. So we'll see what that is. So if anybody for Grasshopper Manufacturer happens to listen to this hot mess of a podcast, congratulations on 25 years. Here's to another 25, and then another 25 after that, and another 25 after that. 100 years of Grasshopper Manufacturer. You got this. But bringing it back to the now, I'm pretty excited for this new game that they're potentially working on, as well as any new games they do release in the next few years. But one thing I'm really hoping to see is a remaster of the PS2 version of Flower Sun Rain. That'd be pretty cool. But that is dreams, and dreams. But what isn't a dream is the fact that you're here at VGMporium, and thank you for coming in. Or maybe it is some kind of dream. Some kind of weird, strange fever dream that happened after having some really bad ramen. Who knows? You know, regardless, thank you again for coming in. And if this is your first time in and you've stuck out this entire way, again, thank you. And you can find VGMporium on all your favorite podcatchers such as Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, as well as on the website, which is VGMporium.wordpress.com, which is where you'll find all the links to said podcatchers, as well as the social medias like Twitter and Instagram, as well as the link to the Discord if you're interested in that. And hey, if you have a track that you'd like to order in, or you just like to reach out to me and say howdy, you can do so at VGMporium@gmail.com. So now next week is going to be my Masters of VGM episode. I'm going to be featuring 2 older, mostly underappreciated composers and 2 relatively new composers. And I got some really good stuff lined up here, so I'm really excited for it, and I hope you are too. Now I have one last track here to play us out with, and it is one of 2 ending tracks. This one being another one of my personal favorites. And it actually plays after the big twist at the end of the game, and it really is appropriate. So it's called Dissociative Identity, composed by Masafumi Takada.